Well, the Walt Disney Company said they were going to fire a lot of people this week. They're aiming for that 7,000 layoff target they have before summer. You would think that would be all, and that's what the media is reporting, but there may be more after that. I'll tell you one thing, though. Not many of us anticipated that they wouldn't just be firing employees. No, the Walt Disney Company is firing dragons, burning them to the ground. They've got Murphy kebabs over at Disneyland, and we're going to tell you why this may be the beginning of some very serious maintenance issues at all of the Disney parks. Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of that culture curve. It's what we're doing each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. If you like content like that, you might consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about that notification bell. Joining us to talk about this thing, which is, well, it's slightly humorous, but it's also kind of sad, and we'll discuss why. But talking about all of this stuff going on is the one and only, the very lovely Lorena Creole. Welcome back to the channel.
Oh, well, thank you, Pro. Thank you so much for having me back. Good to be here.
Well, Lorena, we thought, of course, that the firings only would extend to employees of the Walt Disney Company. We know that it's particularly hitting ESPN and the parks divisions in this latest round. 4,000 jobs on the cutting block. And the Walt Disney Company has said, well, you know, it's not the frontline employees at the parks that are going to get cut. It's other people. And I'm thinking, well, that's not great either. I'm not sure why it's better that people who have been there for a couple of years and worked their way into some kind of low-level management, why they're on the chopping block. And now I'm watching this, and I'm seeing that, with this latest issue with Fantasmic over at Disneyland, that perhaps Disney needs more employees, or at least employees that can do maintenance. This is really, this was dangerous. It was catastrophic, and there's no telling how long Fantasmic will be shut down. What did you think about it? And I'm going to go ahead and play the video for everybody out there so that you can watch it. Let me say, as we get ready to watch the video, that this is coming from Catastrophic Failure. Well, that's apropos, I would say.
Yeah.
Catastrophic Failure over on Twitter. Here we go.
First of all, I have seen this show at Disneyland. It's much better at Disneyland. This fire effect with Maleficent's dragon is one of the best parts of the show. I love Maleficent, so love this part.
Is it fair to say Mickey won this time?
Yeah. Mickey said, I'm really not kidding this time.
I'm not doing this anymore, dragon.
Yeah, just like I've had it up to here with you, and just seeing it. First of all, I'm so glad nobody was hurt, but at the same time, I'm just looking, just like, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. And for a while, if you've never seen the show, you might think that this is, planned because it's on fire. But didn't get to the lake yet. But you see, it's on fire a little bit. Like, okay, 2 parts. They're probably going to put it out or whatever. But as it goes on, and the whole thing catches on fire.
Yes, it gets much worse as we're seeing right now with the explosions, and the whole thing's going to be engulfed soon.
This is like action movie John Wick level stuff going on Catching on Fire. And all I can think of is how amazing that animatronic is, and now that it's gonna be gone.
Well, yeah, they've disassembled what was left, but it was utterly destroyed at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I saw it was basically burned beyond all recognition. Yeah. Which it's so disheartening because this effect, I've seen it at Disney World and it was okay. But the one at Disneyland is just amazing. I was blown away by seeing that. And now realizing that basically that is gone. Fantasmic is basically toast because this was the showstopper, or is the showstopper in Fantasmic. And now it's gone. And it's just like, now what?
I don't think they can. I don't think they can continue Fantasmic right now. One of the things I want to draw everybody's attention to is, one, if you'll look at the Mickey performer, and we've just barely missed it, but if you watch the Mickey performer, they're still on stage when the fire is taking place, and you can see the Mickey character nod right there, a real strong nod, and then they're taken on a lift down below. And I kind of wonder if that was like a sign from the actor saying, "Get me out of here now." Because it was getting, I mean, you can see by this point, it would have been dangerous for the Mickey actor to be out there. The other thing,
Yeah.
Lorena, that I find interesting about this, beyond the fact that this is clearly some sort of a maintenance issue, this should not happen. There's no contingency plan for this. But I find it interesting that you would think, given the effect that's being used here, given the flames, given how long it's been happening, that Disney would have had a plan to have the water jets. They're in the water. They're used for all sorts of things. But you would have thought
Mhm.
that Disney would have had sort of a red emergency button that they could hit, and the water jets would have fired and shot straight at the dragon in the event that something like this occurred. They don't have anything like that, and I just think that's bizarre. Do you?
I think it's extremely bizarre. Anytime you're dealing with pyrotechnics, from what I've heard, there's safety redundancies that are built in. There's no way that fire shouldn't have gotten out of control that fast. You're always going to have the risk of something catching on fire. It's something different when there's like a little bit of fire and, the water systems come on and completely put it out. That's okay.
Disneyland, if you look, there's one person out there with a little normal sized fire extinguisher. You know, like,
That's all
I'm
that's
sorry, that is not the tool to be used for the
no.
situation.
No, there needs to be the equivalent of, like the helicopters that drop buckets on the
Yeah.
forest fires. It should be completely soaked, again, like you were saying, with sprinkler systems. But I don't that is so unsafe. I cannot believe that a company like Disney, with that kind of dangerous pyrotechnic going on, that they didn't have a redundancy system in there to
Well,
to
I think
put
they're
it
very
out, fire
lucky.
suppression.
I think they're very lucky because had the wind gone in a certain direction, or had the flames that we saw spew out of the tubing that was releasing the fuel, had that gone in the
Mhm.
wrong direction, they could have had a major fire at Disneyland, taking down parts around all of Fantasmic. And I don't know that the people across the water were in danger, but certainly the structures and plants around the dragon could have easily been caught on fire. And there just doesn't seem to have been a strong plan in place to react quickly. And that really points to what I see at the company, which is that they have a great facade, but it's not just the parks anymore, with the structures having a good facade. It's the company itself. They don't have the things in place that you would expect them to have in place. And when things go wrong, they go really wrong. And to that point, if we take a look here, this is not the first dragon that Disney has fired up. This from a few years ago, this out of Spectrum News
Oh
13.
my god.
This is when the other dragon caught on fire, this time at Magic Kingdom. And this is a parade float. It actually had a similar issue. Luckily, it doesn't have as much fuel to be able to burn quite as
Yeah.
bad as the other dragon. But it's stuck there in Liberty Square in Magic Kingdom. Again, had things gone poorly, and luckily, what we're seeing here is that at least at Magic Kingdom, the cast members were quick to react and had
Mhm.
fire extinguishers ready, and were trying to just maintain it until emergency services could get there. So better handled in this situation. But again, another dragon, another fire, and it just doesn't seem that Disney has the proper maintenance, the proper protocols in place. Really makes me concerned about other stuff around Disney. I hate to be this way, but when you see this kind of thing, it makes you go, well, what about the transportation? Do I really want to get on the Skyliner? Do I really trust that they're maintaining the monorail like they need to? When you're burning down structures, maybe it's time to reassess Disney. Lorena, what do you think about it? Do people have reason to be concerned about Disney's maintenance right now?
Make sure to catch the Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.
I think people definitely need to be concerned. I never knew that this effect had caught on fire before, because the Festival of Fantasy Parade literally just started back up within the past, I guess, couple of months or so. And I've seen the fire effect, but I did not know this happened. Case in point, the Skyliner, literally not that long after it opened, and I was actually, I believe I was down here at the time, people getting stuck on the Skyliner.
Well, the
And
Skyliner crashed too, right?
they had crashes where, because those things literally come in hot. I've been on there and I've been kind of scared when it starts coming in the station. I was like, why is it speeding up? Why is it speeding up? And one hit another gondola, crashed into the others, and they had to shut the Skyliner, they had to shut the Skyliner down. There's been sometimes issues with the monorails. I can't recall exactly when, but I know on Clownfish TV, they were talking about how one time they were on the monorail and it was like smoking and they had to get evacuated, out of the monorail. But I've seen issues happen with attractions breaking down. So it's like, if it's the attractions that are breaking down and not getting maintained, and you have something like this is even more dangerous. And then you have the monorails and the Skyliner. There was a time when things like this happening were unheard of. It was literally like an act of God or a one-off that something like this would happen. But now it seems to be happening more and more and more often, which begs the question, what's Disney doing with their maintenance? Do they not feel it's as important as, just getting people's money to go to the parks? For me, I would be I'm very cautious. I don't ride the monorail as much as I used to. I've never heard of the ferry blowing up, so I take that ferry more often than not. I'll take the ferry over there. The Skyliner,
Well,
it
isn't
was
this a
like,
shame? Isn't it a shame though that Disney is now becoming sort of like a carnival fair where parents look at the
yes.
Gravitron and say, "I don't think you want to get on that ride. That's not safe, sweetie." And
Mhm.
now it's like that with Disney World where if the teacups fail, so what? You get off the teacups and you go on. But these other things, they're like the things that shouldn't ever fail. You don't need attractions burning to the ground, and that's what these things are. In the case of the Maleficent dragon out of the parade, it took 2 years for that parade to return. How long is it going to take to rebuild a state-of-the-art, cutting-edge dragon for the Fantasmic show over at Disneyland? I don't know, but I can't imagine it's easy to rebuild that. Uh, you know, you haven't even begun to plan on sourcing all the materials and getting this done. And then, of course, you bring up a great point when you're looking at the monorail, when you're looking at transportation systems. Again, it's not like if you're on It's a Small World and the boat stops and they have to come ferry you out. It'll be okay. But if you're on the monorail and there's some sort of critical error, that's a real problem. And, Lorena, what do you think in terms of you go to Disney World all the time? Have you
Mhm.
noticed an increase in perhaps maintenance issues? Is there an increase in downtime for the rides, or does it seem to be holding up fairly well in comparison to historical trends?
No, definitely more downtime when it comes to attractions. Attractions that have never gone down before, like Pirates of the Caribbean. More often than not, that ride isn't running. There's other attractions that will stop running, like Big Thunder Mountain. That never used to have a problem. Now,
No, I mean, it's essentially
again,
three chain lifts and that's it. As long as your chain lifts are running, it should work. I
yeah,
guess your E-blocks matter, but
but that was shut down. Tower of Terror. I've never been to the park at Rope Drop and Tower of Terror not be running.
well,
But
at rope
now
drop, that's bad.
at Rope Drop, it's not happening. Rise of the Resistance, we all know the issues with that, but there's been times where I get there again at Rope Drop, it's not open. The cast members don't even know when it's going to be open, and to tell you
Well,
that. And these ride malfunctions and downtime are happening more and more and more often. And especially when it comes to transportation, that Skyliner, you talk about getting stuck on the monorail. Imagine getting stuck on a Skyliner and you're, dangling above,
I'll
Buena
pass on
Vista
that one.
Street. It's it's
I mean, I like the Skyliner, but I have been on it enough, especially in windy conditions, to say, I could pass on this next time. Maybe I'll just walk from Hollywood Studios to Epcot, which, by the way, people, is a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
All right. So at the same time that we're seeing all of these issues at the parks, Disney is simultaneously cutting the people who would assuredly be working on these sorts of things. So not good. This out of Variety. Jennifer Mass, the author, Disney to reach 4,000 layoffs this week with second round of cuts, third wave to hit ahead of summer. In a months-long goal to reach 7,000 job cuts total. Let me stop there, folks. The media keeps saying in a months-long goal to reach 7,000 job cuts because that's what's been announced that they're going to cut before summer. What the media almost never tells you is that doesn't have to be the end of this. They can continue to cut jobs afterwards. This is just the goal for the summer. We don't know what the goal is afterwards. Anyway, the notifications will be handed out to staff through Thursday, concluding with approximately 4,000 job eliminations completed overall by week's end, according to company officials. While the Disney workforce will be reduced by thousands across divisions, Disney Entertainment, ESPN, and Disney Parks Experiences and Products, hourly frontline operation roles at parks and resorts will not be affected. And there it is. I don't get this, Lorena. They continue to say this. It seems to me to be some sort of virtue signal that we're not going to fire frontline operations roles. In other words, we're not going to fire the people that you see at the parks. But the issue there is that those are the people who cost the least to keep. It's not that you're doing it out of some sort of virtue. You're doing it because you're firing the people who have been with you a little bit longer and worked their way up to being the supervisor at the lowest level over these frontline workers. So I don't see any good out of that. And, it's not the frontline workers that keep dragons from burning to the ground. It's the people who you don't see. It's not the hourly workers. So, at the same time that we're seeing these huge issues at the parks, safety concerns even, Disney's cutting Disney park employees, whether they're the frontline Dole Whip servers or not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's not good. It's not a good look. And I have to say, I love how they keep saying, the hourly workers aren't going to be affected. They aren't going to be, you're saying you aren't going to be affected by layoffs. Are they going to be affected by you cutting hours?
That's a great point. Yes. And that's something that they don't bring up ever. They never bring up that if they're hourly workers, they're paid by the hour. So how does it impact them if they have then their hours cut? And then it's also the converse is true, right? How does it affect them if suddenly they're being asked to work lots and lots of overtime because those salaried positions have been cut and there's nobody to fill in some of these spots anymore because they've taken out the individuals who could fill in as part of their salaried role. So all in all, I just think it's a major negative. Lorena, let's finish it this way, though. I'm curious your take. You go to the parks all the time. You interact with cast members all the time. What is your take on how cast members are handling this? They've been under a ton of stress, especially the cast members in Florida. And it needs to be said that cast members truly are the people who make the magic come true. Without them, there would be no magic at Walt Disney World. There would be no magic at Disneyland. They give it their all each and every day. And for any cast members out there watching this video, just know that you have our full support. That said, I'm curious, how is the demeanor? How is the stamina of cast members as you go around and talk to them and interact? Do you sense that they're struggling with some of these stressors that now exist that didn't before? I mean, Disney wasn't a political company before. They didn't get into fights with state governments. They didn't have attractions burning to the ground. So what do you think?
I would say God bless the cast members. This is just me. I don't see any difference. I think the cast member, I'll know. The cast members want to make sure that the guests have a great experience at the parks. As usual, they can't seem to do, enough for you. Very, upbeat. They, go out of their way for you. So I would say that if they are really concerned, I don't see it being passed on to the guests. And I would say that definitely speaks a lot as to why the cast members literally are the heart and soul of the parks.
That's right. Not the C-suite necessarily.
No.
And let's finish this way. Have you been to the new barbecue restaurant in Toy Story Land in Hollywood Studios?
I have not yet.
Okay, so you've got to stop by because the cast members there are quite impressive. My crew was at the restaurant today, and
Mhm.
the servers, the cast members, everybody who works at the restaurant, they do a thing where there'll be an audio cue that Andy is coming, and then
Mhm.
because the cast members are part of the toys, that are in the bedroom, Andy's bedroom, they all freeze. No matter if they're taking your order, no matter if they're delivering food, they all freeze for 3, 5 seconds, whatever, and pretend to be a toy trying to play the part just like the other toys. And
Uh-huh.
that just goes to the effect and the immersion that cast members give. They give it their all, even when there are snarky adults who have just had enough. They've had their toddler crying now for 3 hours and they're over it.
Mhm.
Cast members still do their very best each and every day. And so, I'm just always very pleased with the people who work at the parks. And I hope that our criticisms of things like dragons burning to the ground and terminations across the company due to bad decisions, I hope that cast members know that we differentiate between those at the very highest levels who've made bad decisions and the cast members who just want to create wonderful memories for families day in and day out. And they deal with a lot.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I emphasize on my Welcome to Florida show is to let people know that there's a difference between the executive suite folks at Disney and the everyday cast members that just want to make sure you have a great vacation, and they do put in a lot of work, and I have nothing but highest praise for them.
Absolutely. Now, Lorena, you have become quite the regular on the Pro Show, Thursdays, 5 to 7 Eastern Time. And we enjoy having you as a regular guest there. You're becoming more and more a regular guest here on the channel. People love you. But if people want to find you beyond this channel, where can they go to find you on this great, big, beautiful web?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, posting about my channel and pop culture, and especially about the parks. You can also find me on IG, which I say is visual Twitter, so to speak. You can find me on Twitch doing all kinds of gaming, especially playing one of my favorite games, which is Disney Dreamlight Valley. Come watch me play and hang out with the likes of Nala and Simba and Minnie and Stitch, who's my favorite guy. And of course, you can find me on YouTube doing various live streams and videos about pop culture, theme parks, and just that fun of going to the parks.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. It's wonderful to have you yet again. And folks, everybody out there, make sure that you subscribe to Lorena's content. Go check it out. And she will never, nor would I ever recommend that you go to Disneyland and play We Didn't Start the Fire loudly around the Fantasmic area. That would just be beneath the demeanor of all of you out there. Don't do it, whatever you do. But one thing you should do is if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. We covet your comments, so drop one down below. We care about what you're thinking, and we really do read them and respond. Consider becoming a member. Exclusive content for just the price of a soda. And folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun. And put a fire out or two.
Ugh, Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Cuz you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?